That's very weird. Okay, today we are going to do an overview of the course. I know we are quite close to our exam. You guys are writing in May, so if by the end of the month you are at a point where you feel that you don't think you're going to do well or whatever, please rather write at the end of the year. Like, a lot of people are in a rush, and I get being in a rush, and I get wanting to finish so that you can move on to the next thing. But the issue I've been seeing with a lot of my students is that they rush. You guys should mostly be fine. One or two of you I'm a little bit worried about. But you need to get through, you need to have the skills. So today we are going to look at all the skills that you need, and we'll see if you feel that you need more time. So by the end of the month, you need to have a solid look at yourself and say, okay, do I think I know what I'm doing? Do I think I know what's required of me? Does that make sense? So let's first look at the aims of the syllabus. What we're trying to get to by the end of the course is we want you to have read a wide range of texts fluently and with good understanding, enjoying and appreciating a variety of language. So what I want from you at this point is I want you to be reading. Like, I know this is a language course, but the best way to explore language is by using the language, interacting with the language, consuming media. So the things that I want you to be reading are, I want you to be reading books, essays, poems, articles, blogs. I want you to read the news. I want you to read interviews, open letters, speeches, reports. You might want to read transcripts, although you don't really need to do that, but do I have reviews here? Oh, reviews. So you need a wide range of reading materials. And then I also want you to be reading short stories, which you can find online. A good search term for Google is, or actually I'll just search it here and paste a link. 100 greatest essays. Okay. So this one looks good. I haven't actually looked at this list before, but I'm just going to paste this here, and I'll also paste it in your chat box. Okay, there we go. I'm going to give you this as well. This doesn't have the specific essays. Let's just try. Okay, this one is the one I like. Okay, this one, I've gone through this list and I like this list of essays. So I'm going to remove this one and replace it with this one. Okay. So we need to read a wide range of text fluently and with good understanding. We need to have read critically and use knowledge gained from wide reading to inform and improve our own writing. So by the end of this course, this is what you need to be able to do. If you do not think you will be able to do these things by the end of the course, either you need to work very hard for the next 4 months, or you need to delay your exam or something. You need to write accurately and effectively using standard English appropriately. So accuracy might be a struggle for some of you. Effectively, yeah, your writing mustn't be dry. You must use language in a creative way, in a way that makes the reader want to actually experience what you're reading. Work with information and with ideas in language by developing skills of evaluation, analysis, use, and inference. So you need to be able to evaluate ideas, you need to be able to analyze ideas. You need to be able to look at how things are used, how words are used, how language is used, why language is used in that way, and what are the inferences, what are the ideas behind, like, if I use language in a specific way, what does that infer? What meaning does that add to the thing? Does that make sense? Then you need to listen to, understand, and use spoken language effectively. I think you should be able to do this, but this is not going to be tested for you guys because you guys aren't doing the writing, the speaking component. You need to acquire and apply a wide vocabulary alongside a knowledge and understanding of grammatical terminology and linguistic conventions. So the point of the course, I want to say, is not to write an exam. Is that a hot take? So you're going to be writing 2 papers. So we've got paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is a reading paper, and paper 2 has directed writing and composition. So paper 1's reading paper is 80% reading and 20% writing, and paper 2 is 80% writing and 20% reading. Both of the exams are for 80 marks. They're both 2 hours long. And how did you do, Janu?
So it was my first exam for the A-level Afrikaans and I got a 71.
Well done.
Yes, I'm happy.
So our assessment objectives. So the point of an exam is to see whether you know what you should have learned in the course. Does that make sense? So, for instance, at university, what I did was often I would get bored with the textbooks, so I would look at the assessment objectives, and then I would turn the assessment objectives into, so what I was studying was mostly content-based and not so much skills-based. It didn't work for skills-based subjects so much, but for content subjects, I would look at an assessment objective, and then I would turn it into a question, and then I would answer that question in like an essay or something, using the textbook as reference, and then I would study my essays. So I would do that, but in terms of English, how I actually do this as your tutor is I take each of these assessment objectives and I say, okay, well, what activities can we do that teaches you this skill? Because each of these are basically skills. So, explicit meanings. I have played games in the past, I don't know if it was with you guys, but I've played games in the past with providing a poem, and then telling the students to remove everything that isn't clearly stated. So unless something is clearly stated, if it is behind some hidden meaning or behind a metaphor, it is, they must remove it, and then they must state what all the things that are explicitly stated. And then we go through all the implicit meanings and attitudes that are in the poem. So there are different ways to do this, and you can explore different ways of doing this. And you can really have fun with this, but we will be doing a lot of this. So we need to demonstrate an understanding of explicit meanings. We need to demonstrate an understanding of implicit meanings and attitudes. We need to analyze, evaluate, and develop facts, ideas, and opinions using appropriate support from the text. So this is something that a lot of students struggle with. We need to demonstrate an understanding of how writers achieve effects and influence readers. We need to select and use information for specific purposes. Then for our writing component, we need to articulate experience and express what is thought, felt, and imagined. We need to organize and structure ideas and opinions for deliberate effect. We need to use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures appropriate to context. We need to use register appropriate to context. And we need to make accurate use of spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Now, AO3 is speaking and listening, so this isn't actually tested, but I would suggest that you are able to do these things, because this is just, these are just general skills that would help you in your life. Things like articulate experience and express what is thought, felt, and imagined. Present facts, ideas, and opinions in a cohesive order which sustains the audience's interest. Communicate clearly and purposefully using fluent language. Use register appropriate to context. Listen and respond appropriately in conversation. So those are just random skills. Most of you, I think, I've spoken to all of you. I've had conversations with all of you. You are able to communicate your ideas. Sometimes some of you struggle to communicate exactly what you're thinking. But yeah. Okay, so your reading and writing paper each count as 50% of your result. What's next? Okay. So, our written paper is 2 hours and it is 80 minutes. So I was saying to my other class earlier on that there is a need for being able to read quickly, but I don't want you to sacrifice reading accurately so that you can read quickly. Okay? So yes, you can save time by reading fast. So for instance, the one task has a 750 word thing that you need to read, and if you read at 150 words a minute, which is not great but not bad, it's going to take you 5 minutes. However, if you're reading at 200 or 350 words, we'll make it 300 words. If you're reading at 300 words a minute, it's only going to take you 2.5 minutes. So you're saving 2.5 minutes, and since you are reading the passage 2 or 3 times, you could save up to 7.5 minutes on that task. So do you see how reading fast can help you? But the problem is that often when students try to read fast, they lose their accuracy and they lose focus on what they're reading. So if any of you are interested in increasing your reading speed or anything like that, send me a message. I've got, it's a free program that you can do, which teaches you to read by visualizing, and eventually you get so good at visualizing what you're reading that you end up reading very fast. That's what I did to start reading faster. I did the course for a while. I've done it with a bunch of my students. So if you do want to do that, let me know. So question 1 is our comprehension and summary task. So our comprehension task is for 30 marks. Oh wait, no. Our comprehension and summary together are 30 marks. So you're going to respond to a text, and it's literally just testing your reading skills. So explicit meaning, implicit meaning, and selecting and using information for specific purposes. So are you able to look at the information and see, okay, this is important. This is what the information I need to give at this point. And then we've got our summary task, which is where you respond to text B. And here this is testing your reading skills and your writing skills. So same reading skills as your comprehension task, and your writing skills, which is about organizing and structuring your ideas, which I've got a thing that I want to do with you for that. Use a range of vocabulary and sentence structures appropriate to context. Make accurate use of spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Okay, for question 2, we've got our short answer questions and our language task. So our short answer questions, this requires you to respond to text C, and you're going to respond to text C again for your language task. So your language task is your writer's effect question. So what affects, what has the writer done with language to create an effect? So that's your language task. Then we've got our extended response to reading, which is our question 3. So you're going to write about 250 to 350 words. It's going to be a letter, a report, a journal, a speech, an interview, or an article. And you see, this is testing most of your learning outcomes. Most of your learning outcomes. So 15 marks goes towards your reading, and 10 marks goes towards your writing. Okay? It's very important that you understand the question. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Paper 2 is also 2 hours, it is for 80 marks. You're going to answer 2 questions, 1 from each section. So it's going to be between 650 to 750 words. You've got 1 compulsory question. You're going to use the information from the text, and you're going to create a discursive, argumentative, persuasive speech, letter, or article. So before then, we need to practice writing discursive, argumentative, persuasive speeches, letters, and articles. We need to practice 3, 6, 9 types of writing. Do you see that? Okay. You need to be able to write about 250 to 350 words. Then section B is a composition question. So you need to answer 1 question from a choice of 4 titles, 2 descriptive and 2 narrative. So you can choose between descriptive writing and narrative writing. Just a tip, if you are not going to focus on descriptive writing for your IGCSEs, you do need to be aware that your AS exams do not have narrative writing in. Okay. So choose which skills you want to build. I would recommend you build your skills for descriptive writing and narrative writing. You with me? And I will give you assignments to build those skills. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about paper 2? So command words, we've got describe, explain, give, and identify. Describe means to state the points of a topic, give characteristics and main features. Explain is to set out purposes or reasons, make the relationship between things evident, provide why and or how, and support with relevant evidence. For give, we need to produce an answer from a given source or recall or memory. For identify, we need to name, select, or recognize. Is that cool? Does anyone have any questions there? So these are just words you need to know. In terms of previous study, you should, it's expected at this point that you've done a lower secondary program, Cambridge level,